Hey, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. And I noticed here as I'm in the studio doing a couple of promos, and I can hear it in my voice right now. I got a little something going on in my throat. I do not believe it's anything other than allergies. The allergies have been really bad this year. So if I don't sound like my normal self, please forgive me. Good morning, Cliff. How are you? Craig, always a pleasure, buddy. Sean, hey, Sean. I saw the new 2025 lineup of Angler Quest boats yesterday at the dealer meeting. Yesterday? Monday at the dealer meeting. Um, and it's interesting the direction Brad is going now. He's still making the big pro troll and the big family fish, like I think you have, but he's also going to a lineup of smaller boats because money is so tight in a lot of families these days. People just, maybe can't afford $120,000 for a new fishing boat. And if you're not going to be out on Saginaw Bay or Lake Michigan or Lake Erie, maybe you don't need a big pro troll. So Brad has come out with a line of smaller uh, boats designed for inland lakes. I shot video of it the other day. I haven't had time to post any of it yet, but I will. Tim, good morning, buddy. How are you? Hello, Bruce. Sir Lancelot of Teaching Fishing. Lance just sent me a text because he's going to be on the show this week talking about fall fishing. He says, remember, it's Teaching Fishing now. It's not Walleye 101. Got you covered, buddy. Corey, how are you? Where are you, Corey? Are you out west hunting? Are you here in Michigan fishing, or what are you doing? Let's see here. Numbers are way down this morning. I wonder if it's a technical problem or people are just out doing other things. Either way, I'm glad to have you along with us. Very low. I wonder what that's all about. Normally in the summertime, the behind the mic segments here in the studio get a pretty good audience. Wednesday night live tends to slack off a little bit in the summertime because it's 7 o'clock and it's still light out and people are out doing things. This time of year, people tend to be around home now at 7 o'clock, unless you're out hunting. They're coming in from hunting. So the numbers for Wednesday Night Live really go up this time of year. Let me look at your text. No, it's back to Walleye 101. Teaching fishing is. Oh, I read that wrong, Lance. Lance's text is, remember, Walleye 101 is back. No more teaching fishing. I read that wrong, Lance. I didn't realize that. Good for you. Actually, when I did my promos earlier, and you might have to forgive me on this one, Lance, because I don't know if I'm going to have time to go back and redo them. I did a video promo and I did an audio promo. And I think in both, I said in hour number 3, Lance Valentine of Teaching Fishing. So if I don't get a chance to change that, Lance, I apologize. But during the radio show, I will make sure to refer to you as Walleye 101. Okay, thank you, Lance. I appreciate that. And let's make sure we talk about this on our conversation on the radio show today. I'm real curious the thinking behind it. I mean, you're a smart guy, and every move you make from the outside appears to be a good move. So good for you. Corey, you're still home finishing up your deck. Slow process, not a carpenter. Lots of fishing and hunting coming up. End of the month, November, December. Excellent. Jerry checking in from Algonac. Ed Bolanowski, are you up north this morning, Ed? Nice to have you along with us. Ed, you're getting ready to go down and see Bill Piles of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters. When are you guys going? My daughter Shelby and her husband Aditya, the due date on the baby Bean, was actually, he was supposed to be born this Saturday. And he was born like a month ago, 3 weeks ago. So that's why I wasn't going to come down and see you guys because of the baby. But he's little and he's healthy and he's doing well. Lance says, get that deck done and join us in Ohio. Yeah, let's talk about that, Lance. Come on in, Art. Rob says it's frosty in the north today. It wouldn't be a behind the mic segment without this guy right here.
Hello.
You know, if you don't know the face, and you probably do, you know the voice.
Sorry about the face.
Hey, all us radio guys are the same, right? We're in radio because we can't be in TV.
Something like that.
You can hear Art on WSTW AM and FM. He's a good guy.
Get your bear meat yet?
The bear meat is done. It's ready for me to pick up at Michigan Brand, and we have the dough that I shot just made into venison hamburger.
Oh, wow.
So you want me to bring in some for you?
You're going to have a lot of burger, aren't you?
I'm going to have a lot of burger.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want brats or burger?
A burger.
I'll bring in
Just
some
a
burger.
little, not a lot.
You want bear burger or venison burger?
Oh, I'd like to try bear burger.
Bear burger is very good.
Yeah.
All right. I'll bring some in.
All right.
All right.
Nice having friends like that.
Art's one of the good guys right here. Art Lewis. Appreciate it, Art. Craig says he's going down to. And let me go back here. Patrick says, good morning. Ed says he's doing a mic and only hunting until Wednesday. Hey, sometimes my schedule only allows limited hunts, and it's always for a good reason. Craig, how you doing, buddy? Craig is going to Huron, Ohio with Lance in a few short weeks. Looking forward to learning some new stuff and catching big walleye. Lance Valentine of Walleye 101, not teaching fishing, Walleye 101. He's going back to his roots. I can't wait to hear more about this. Corey will be in Illinois 11-6 through 11-10, and the Ozarks 11-12, 11-20, then Lorraine, Ohio. Are you going to be? No wonder you're working on your deck, Corey. You're not going to be home the rest of the fall. Scott says, hey, congrats, Mike, on your big, mature Michigan doe. Outstanding. That was a very rewarding harvest. I had set a goal for myself for this fall of shooting a big doe. That's what my goal was. It wasn't to shoot a big buck. It wasn't to shoot a buck. My goal going into the season was to shoot a big doe. And last Thursday night I did. And it was very rewarding. My son James reminded me, he says, Mike, you haven't shot a deer in a long time. I think the last deer I shot was with him in Kansas, a nice 10-point I shot out there with a bow, but that's been years and years and years. So it was nice to put that doe down, and it was very rewarding. So now I got a bear in the freezer and I got a deer in the freezer. I will continue to hunt, but at this point, I probably wouldn't shoot another doe unless somebody says, hey, I could use some meat, then I would shoot it. But at this point, I'm going to be out there now just kind of seeing if a nice buck wanders by. And we do have, surprisingly, some nice bucks on camera. There's about 3 of them out there that we've seen on camera that I actually would shoot. I mean, they're not trophy bucks, but they're not year-and-a-half-old bucks either. So thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Brian, good morning. How are you? Corey said he would come down to Lorraine or come down to Lake Erie if he didn't already have plans. Randy, good morning, Mike. Congrats on your doe. I also got my deer. Opening weekend, nice 8-point. Go Dogs. I think he means go Bulldogs. Ferris State College, when I graduated from there in 1980. It's now Ferris State University. Mark, good morning. How are you? Cap, Jim, nice to have you along with us. Thank you, Corey. Appreciate that. Scott, good morning. Tommy, nice to have you along with us. Oh my gosh, Tommy and his wife and father. Oh, my wife and father got nice 8 points opening week. If you want, Tommy, I don't remember seeing those pictures. If you want to send those to me, I will post them if you want. Send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Bill, good morning. How are you? Thanks for joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic here from the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. Let me take a minute to tell you who's coming up on this week's show. Brad, always a pleasure. Thanks. Jay checking in from Sheboygan. WCBY Country, Big Country Gold. My first guest. Hey, Tyler, how are you? 2 beautiful 3.5-year-old bucks. hunting season. Tyler, way to go. All right, Tommy. My first guest this week is a guy named Kyle Green of Greenway Outdoors. I am so impressed with Kyle and his crew, his buddies, his friends, his staff. They're young guys and they're making such an impact in the world of outdoor communications. They actually have a show on the History Channel. They didn't screw around with Outdoor Channel, didn't screw around with Sportsman Channel. They're on History Channel. And they had a party last Saturday night at the Bass Pro Shops down in Auburn Hills, I would call it, at Great Lakes Crossing. They had a wild game dinner, and then they had a screening of a preview of their new season. They took us down to the theater there at Great Lakes Crossing. They rented one of the theaters, and on the big screen, they showed 2 of their episodes, 2 that they had done in Hawaii. Now, these are young Michigan guys who have a passion for the outdoors. Anyway, they're doing a great job. Kyle is my first guest this week. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. In the second hour, John Littlefield of Premier Maritime Training. John's going to talk about how you can get your captain's license. I got my captain's license from John. Captain Jim got his from John. We'll talk about that. Then followed by Evan Crowley from Brenton Firearms. I took my Michigan Bear with a Brenton gun, a 350 Legend. Some interest, and I'm looking forward to putting that gun to work during the rifle season too. Interesting things going on at Brenton, some exciting things. We'll talk about that. Then Justin Tomei of MUCC. We'll see what's going on in his world. Justin sent me a picture of a beautiful bear mount, a mount from his bear from last season. So I'm sure we'll talk about that, whatever else is going on. The Ask Avery segment this week. Look, let me preface this. I am a big, big fan of law enforcement. My dad was a cop for 35 years. I was a VCO, a volunteer conservation officer for the DNR for many years back when they had those. So I am pro law enforcement. And for the most part, I'm pro DNR. I don't agree with everything, but I think overall they do a good job. But I got to tell you something. Getting an answer for an Ask Avery segment out of the law enforcement division of the Michigan DNR is cumbersome at best, frustrating even. I can go to MUCC and get an answer. I can go to the wildlife division of the DNR and get an answer right away. I can go to fisheries and get an answer right away. But when I try to get an answer out of the law enforcement division, and I don't know, is it because they're cops and they have a basic mistrust of the media? If so, I get that. But I'm not one of those guys you need to worry about, right? Anyway, I for the third week in a row, I've tried to answer a couple of questions on the Ask Avery segment that I can't get an answer to. It's very frustrating. And this doesn't go to individual officers in the field. This is like the structure that is the law enforcement division of the DNR. Wildlife is very easy to deal with. Fisheries is very easy to deal with. Law enforcement is they're a different animal. Now, having said that, probably the next time I drive down a dirt road on the way to our lease property, I'm going to be lit up by blue lights behind me. Go ahead, because I don't do anything wrong. In our third hour, it's Sir Lancelot, formerly of Teaching Fishing, now of Walleye 101 again. I want to talk to him about that. Then Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Miner. Okay, let me go back to a couple of comments here. And you'd think, as hard as it is, if you look at a Game Digest or look at it in the app, it's very confusing. I mean, it's very confusing. And that's not the law enforcement division's fault. It's not the game warden's fault. But it's very confusing. And you would think that they would jump on every opportunity to get out there and answer questions. Sorry, I'm not in the office today. I'm feeling a little frustrated about that. And again, it's not a reflection on individual officers, but hard to get things done. Randy, yes, Ferris State Dogs. My son graduated from FSC also, and he's also a dog. We're all dogs. Michigan United Conservation Clubs, our podcast listeners loved your episode, Mike, our best performing yet. Thank you guys for letting me be a part of that. I'm not sure who is behind the MUCC page here, whether it's Tyler or Steve or Justin or who's making that post, but they allowed me the opportunity to be on one of their new podcasts. Now, the MUCC podcast is interesting because the first version, the first iteration of that podcast, I actually did. And we struggled to make it work, not because we didn't have good content, but it just, in deep inside, I knew there's something that this is not the right format. Something's not right. So it eventually just faded away. The crew that's in there now at MUCC, they're for the most part young, energetic, really sharp people. And they said, let's bring the podcast back, but they're doing it in the new style now with multiple hosts, with people sitting at a table. And it's a video podcast too, which is the style that most podcasts are these days. So anyway, I like the format of the MUCC podcast. And guys, I appreciate you letting me be a part of that. I did post an excerpt from that on my Instagram feed and Facebook as well. And in fact, I also sent that off, guys, at MUCC. I sent that off to the powers that be at Michigan Wildlife Council as well. Corey says he's drinking a cup of coffee, looking at the deer, mature doe in his backyard. Good thing I'm not around because I'm a mature doe shooter. It's your food plot deck. It's your deck plot. Eric, how are you? Jim, nice to have you along with us. Good morning, Tim. Tom checking in from the Thumb. How are you? All right, Lance, I'll look forward to it. Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. Johnny Bowler had a tremendous season guiding. He also shot a nice buck last week. Johnny is truly one of the good guys. Now, I was on here or a Wednesday Night Live or something, busting Johnny's chops because I said, you know, Johnny, I had to gut my own bear and drag it out of the woods. Where were you, Johnny? You're my bear guide. And I'm just joking around. And Johnny knows that I'm just joking around. And anybody who knows me and knows Johnny and knows our friendship knows I'm just joking around. But he had some people take the excerpt of that and send it to Johnny and say, Avery's pissed at you. Avery's mad. Avery's not mad at Johnny. Avery was just having fun with his friend, Johnny Bowler. That's all. And Johnny knows that.
3 minutes.
But Johnny, thank you, John. Johnny had a great season. So, and Johnny, thanks for helping me to get my first Michigan bear. Leroy, they don't want to tell anyone anything quite frequently. Tim says because they enforce on a case-by-case basis. Scott says probably because they don't understand the laws themselves. I don't want to go there with that, guys. It's again, this is not directed at individual officers because oftentimes when I reach out to individual officers, they say, absolutely, I can do that. I will do that. But I don't know if there is some pressure from above for these guys not to do that without being officially sanctioned and officially approved by the brass in Lansing. I don't know. I'm just thinking. But it's arduous. It's an arduous process to try to get an answer to a simple question. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It doesn't have to be that way. You know, if you want to distrust someone from M Live, go ahead. But I'm on your side, right? I'm on your side. So if I reach out to you with a question, it's because people are asking. And please look at it as a great opportunity to answer those questions and get the word out. And if it means actually maybe you have to make an extra phone call or step out of a meeting or call somebody out of a meeting, maybe it's worth it. I'm just saying. Good morning, Jerry. Good morning, Ken. Marty from Scandia. How are things in Scandia, Marty? Joe, help me out, Joe. I've asked you this question before. What is the SVRC marketplace? John, Charlie, SVRC marketplace?
It is a small business, like a bunch of small businesses all in one building in downtown Saginaw. They try and like incubate small businesses.
Gotcha.
A lot of them have gone on to get their own buildings.
Joe, Jonathan Dent just told me what you guys are all about. So that sounds pretty cool. I appreciate you watching this morning and keep up the good work.
45 seconds.
Corey, how's Johnny's lip? I don't know, but the picture he sent me last week was pretty bad. I'm not laughing at you, Johnny. I'm laughing with you. All right, my friends, I got to go. I got to record the radio show. I will be back tonight at 7:00 for another edition of Wednesday Night Live, where I would hope that you can join me. They said you're absolutely right on your description of SVRC.
9, 8, 7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off and coffee. I didn't even get to tell a story of my deer hunt, my doe hunt. I will tell that on the radio show coming up. Feel free, if you want, to stick around and watch/listen as I record the first segment of this week's show. It's the audio that you will hear this weekend on this weekend's show. I think that's it. Oh, if you got a picture of a kid in the outdoors, use the hashtag Forward Fuels Tradition. Forward Fuels Tradition. If you don't hashtag it, I will. You can win a $50 gift card to the Forward stores. Have a good day, my friends. Mike Avery. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us as we work our way towards this wonderful fall season, this month of Rocktober. Seen some really interesting and beautiful and welcome things from Mother Nature here in the past week. For one, the temps dropped, didn't they? Wow. I mean, it was downright cold there a few nights for sure. The leaves are absolutely beautiful in my part of the state. I'm surprised, actually, the number of leaves, the amount of leaves that we've lost. That's always a sad time for me when I see those beautiful leaves fall to the ground. The good part about it is for hunters, for deer hunters and for squirrel hunters and for upland bird hunters, is once the leaves drop, you can see better into the woods. You have much better field of view about what's going on around you, what might be coming in, what's ahead of you. So that's the plus side. But I always hate to see the leaves drop. I was very glad to see the rain this past week. Man, did we need rain. The pond behind the house, we've lived in this house now for 10 years, and I've never seen the pond that low. My dad always said, going back to my love of the old sayings, my dad always says, it won't freeze up solid till the ponds are full. And this year, I think we're seeing an example of that. The pond was so very low. We got a couple of real good rains. The pond level's coming up to close to where it should be. So I believe in those old sayings. They were passed down from generation to generation because there is at least a kernel of truth in them, and oftentimes it's just straight out truth. Looking at the pond behind the house, I have to say that my friends who are waterfowl hunters, who are goose hunters, you haven't been doing a very good job. Really, honestly. I mean, there's like hundreds of birds on that pond. Now, you might say, well, why don't you sneak out there and knock their numbers down? I would absolutely love to, but I live just inside the city limit. So I can't. Now, when these birds jump up and fly across the road, they're pretty much fair game. So, all right, my friends who are goose hunters, and you know where I live, set up on these birds and knock the numbers down, will you? I mean, hundreds and hundreds. What else is going on? I told you, well, I've been telling you for the last several weeks. I had a goal this deer season. Number one, first and foremost, my goal when it comes to deer hunting in Michigan is to try to rekindle a strong interest in doing it. I didn't say passion. I didn't say love. I used to be very passionate, borderline hardcore, and absolutely love it. Through a number of factors, I allowed my passion for deer hunting to basically go away. I mean, I almost didn't even hardly hunt for a few years, just wasn't interested in it. And some of it was, and again, this is all things that I could have just ignored, but I didn't. It first started to hit me when I came out against mandatory antler point restrictions, because I don't think it's a good idea. I still don't think it's a good idea. Do they work? Of course they work. I would just rather see people decide to let them walk rather than have the government or a group of hunters mandate to another group of hunters what they can shoot. That was my problem with it, and I was vocal about it. These days, I was like, I don't care. You know, I do what you want. I don't care. That and the social shaming online. You know, if you shoot something, it's not big enough, or if it's real big, it was behind a fence, and just it's like I don't need this. But I let it get to me. I let external factors, I let other people impact my love for deer hunting. Shame on me for letting those people do that. But I realized that a few years ago and have been making a conscious effort to get back into deer hunting for two reasons. I want to continue the tradition that the Avery family has been doing for generations, and that is deer hunting. I also, more importantly, want to be able to share this deer hunting experience with my family. My son James is a hardcore deer hunter. I got grandkids who are pretty hardcore deer hunters. And so for us to be able to look at trail camera pictures and talk about it and share these experiences and hunt together, it means a lot. It means enough to me that I didn't want to let it go away because of outside influences. So that's why I've been working my way back into it. So I went into this deer season not with the goal of shooting a big buck. That's one of the things that drives me crazy about deer hunting is the TV hunting shows where they name their buck. They got a target buck. It has to be mature. You have to have sheds from previous years. You have to have it on trail cameras. You have to name it. You have to shoot it out of a food plot that you put in. All these restrictions that the formal deer hunting society has put on average Joe Blow deer hunters today. Anyway, my goal was not to shoot a buck. My goal was to shoot a big doe because I knew that there weren't any deer walking around our lease property that I wanted to shoot. I'm not a trophy hunter. I'm not a snob, but at this point, I was not interested in shooting a 1.5-year-old buck. If you are, and I mean this sincerely, God bless you. I wish you nothing but success, and I will celebrate your harvest to the highest level. But I'm not interested in a 1.5-year-old buck. So I wanted to shoot a big doe. So this was my third or fourth hunt of the season. I'm sitting in an old ground blind. I mean, this blind has been out there 50 years. That's just a guess. Or longer, I don't know. But there is so much history and tradition in this blind. I can't even imagine how many deer have been shot out of this blind. At one time, there was an old stove in there, and I could just see people sitting, multiple people, it's really big, sitting in this thing, playing cards, drinking coffee around a stove and deer hunting. And I love this spot. So I was hunting with my crossbow. Oh, there you go, Avery. Hunting with a crossbow again, taking the easy way out. Yep, that's exactly what I did. I took the easy way out. Yep, I did. Okay, my hunt. The deer had been moving right at dark. So I got out there about 4:30, 5 o'clock, got settled in, I don't know, screwing around, probably looking at my phone. Didn't expect to see deer movement till right at dark. But at 6 o'clock, well, like 6:15, I look up and across the food plot, I see a doe and a fawn coming into the plot. And they're not sneaking. You know how they usually are. They're timid. They're looking around like they got a purpose. And all I can think of is God was looking over me on this hunt. And I think he said, Avery, I'm gonna give you a reward. And he did. Doe and a fawn lead the pack, and then there's another doe and a fawn. So I got a fawn, doe, fawn, doe. They're coming into the food plot. I had ranged it earlier. I knew where things were. I knew I did not want to take a shot beyond 30 yards. The first doe and the first fawn come into the food plot. They're feeding. They're wandering around. They're slowly moving my direction. I think, okay, this could happen. It's broad daylight. They're moving my direction. The one is obviously a big mature doe. I will shoot her in a heartbeat if I get a chance. And I did get a chance. She kept wandering toward me. Eventually, she got to 20 yards and started to wander off. She was going to walk out of my field of view, out of my shooting window. So I had to grunt her to get her to stop. She's like, what? What was that noise? The minute she stopped, she put her leg forward. She opened up the cavity behind her shoulder, and I put an arrow directly through the middle of her. I mean, it was really a good shot. Very, one of the very rewarding shots that you get in archery hunting. So I knew I got her, and I did. And she didn't go very far. And you talk about a really nice experience, and it just felt good after not taking a deer in so many years to be back in the Michigan woods, set a goal for shooting a big doe and be able to do it. And you know what capped the night off? I had texted my son James and my grandson Trent a picture of the doe laying there in the ground, and Trent says, "You want me to come out and help you?" I said, "No, buddy, I think I got it." He said, "I'll be there." He drove all the way out from town to help me load that doe into the back of the truck, help me gut her. It was just a very cool experience. So check that one off the list. So I got my Michigan bear this year. I got my big doe this year. We got a freezer full of meat. Now I might actually go out there and just wait and see if a nice buck walks by. Feels pretty good. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, Kyle Green of the Greenway Outdoors. This guy is so impressive. His entire crew is top-notch. I can't say enough about him. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. In our second hour, John Littlefield on how to become a charter captain. Evan Crowley of Michigan-based Brenton Rifles, plus Justin Tomei from MUCC. And in our third hour, it's Lance Valentine of Walleye 101, plus Wild Game Chef Dixie Dave Miner. My name is Mike Avery. This is called Outdoor Magazine Radio. My website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com. And my email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what's on your mind. Send me your pictures too, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. All right. Let me get these out of the way so I can see. Hunter Joe says his pond is still 4 feet lower. Ours was a good 3. Kevin says the course is closed for this year. Kevin, we will see you next year. Interestingly enough, though, we are heading north tomorrow to Chestnut Valley Golf Course up by Harbor Springs. We're going to play up there for a couple of days before they close the course. Yeah, I did. I got a nice doe. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. Bruce. All right, my friends, I got to go. Thanks for joining me. I will be back tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. I hope you can join me. In the meantime, have a great day.